Sleeping is not shutting down. It's traveling within ourselves. When we think of sleep, the first image that usually comes to mind is one of rest, the body disconnected from the world, a time of pause. But for neuroscience, sleep is far from being a state of inactivity. In fact, it is one of the most fascinating periods of brain activity, as intense as, or even more so than, the waking state. Scientifically, sleep is essential for maintaining life. During this state, the body performs a biological cleanup. Cells regenerate, toxins are eliminated from the brain, and the immune system is strengthened. Sleep also consolidates memories, regulates emotions, and restores our capacity for attention. But why, then, doesn't consciousness shut down completely? Why do we dream? And how is it possible to have creative thoughts, vivid experiences, or even revelations while we sleep? Human sleep is divided into well-defined stages. The two main ones are NREM sleep, non-rapid eye movement subdivided into stages. It ranges from light drowsiness to deep sleep. Here, the body slows down its activity, muscles relax, and the brain decelerates. This is the sleep that most promotes physical restoration. REM sleep, rapid eye movement. This is the stage where brain activity intensifies. The eyes move rapidly beneath the eyelids, and the most vivid dreams occur. It's a paradoxical state. The body is paralyzed, but the brain is in a frenzy. This dance between NREM and REM repeats several times throughout the night, in cycles of about 90 minutes. And it's during REM that consciousness seems to wake up inside the dream, giving rise to the phenomenon of lucid dreaming. Neuroimaging studies show that during REM sleep, areas of the brain related to creativity, memory, and emotions, such as the visual cortex, the limbic system, and parts of the temporal lobe, remain highly active. It's as if the brain is processing data from the day, reorganizing experiences, and generating new connections. In 1865, the chemist Kekulé claimed to have discovered the structure of benzene thanks to a dream in which he saw a snake biting its own tail, the ancient symbol of the Ouroboros. Coincidence or a revelation from the unconscious? Science now recognizes that during sleep, the brain can reorganize information in surprising ways. Research shows that sleeping after studying significantly improves content retention, and that creative insights often emerge after a good night's sleep. Lucid dreams, when a person knows they are dreaming and can, to some extent, control the narrative, puzzled neuroscience for decades. But today, with the advancement of neuroimaging technologies, we now know there are specific markers for this state. During a lucid dream, the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for judgment, decision-making, and self-awareness, becomes reactivated. This area is typically off during regular REM sleep. That explains why, in normal dreams, we accept absurdities as natural, but in lucid ones, we gain clarity. Researchers like Stephen LaBerge from Stanford University developed techniques to induce lucid dreaming in a controlled way. In a fascinating experiment, lucid dreamers were able to communicate with scientists outside the dream through prearranged eye movement patterns. Just imagine a bridge between two worlds, the dream world and the waking one, being built in real time. Beyond Kekulé, countless other cases are equally striking. Paul McCartney said the melody for Yesterday came to him in a dream. Einstein reported having ideas related to relativity after dream experiences. Many inventors, artists, and writers say their greatest creations were born while they slept. Science is only beginning to understand the therapeutic potential of sleep. Techniques like dream incubation are now being studied to treat trauma, enhance performance, and promote self-awareness. Moreover, experiments with neurofeedback, where brain activity is monitored and adjusted in real time, are opening doors for more people to access altered states of consciousness during sleep, safely and intentionally. While the body sleeps, the soul awakens to other worlds. Long before science tried to decipher the mysteries of sleep with machines and measurements, ancient civilizations already regarded this phenomenon as one of the great gateways of existence. For them, sleep wasn't just rest, it was a crossing, a sacred interval between the visible world and the invisible realms, between what is physical and what is eternal. In ancient Egypt, sleep was interpreted as a spiritual experience. The Egyptians believed that each person had several parts of the soul, and one of them, called Ka, would detach from the body while it slept. The Ka traveled through other dimensions, received messages from the gods, and often returned with revelations. In Tibetan Buddhism, we find one of the most sophisticated systems for exploring consciousness during sleep: dream yoga. For Tibetan lamas, learning to remain conscious while dreaming is a deep spiritual training. They believe the dream state is a simulation of what we face after death, the bardo, and that training within dreams is training for spiritual liberation. Among indigenous peoples of the Americas, shamanism views dreams as soul journeys. The body remains lying down, but consciousness, the spirit, embarks on journeys to gain healing, wisdom, or visions. The shaman is often seen as one who masters the world of dreams, using them as a compass to guide the tribe. In mystical Christianity, there are records of prophetic dreams since biblical times. Joseph, for example, was warned in a dream about Herod's plans and guided to flee with Mary and baby Jesus. Throughout Christian history, mystics and saints have described dreams with angels, divine symbols, and out-of-body experiences that guided their missions. Ancient traditions, even when distant from one another, converge on one point: sleep is fertile ground for consciousness to expand. Many spiritual teachings speak of the concept of subtle bodies, layers of our being beyond the physical. The most commonly mentioned are the astral body, etheric body, and mental body. According to these traditions, during sleep, the physical body remains still, but the astral body detaches and can visit other planes of existence. These planes, called spiritual worlds, subtle dimensions, or simply parallel realities, are inhabited by symbols, archetypes, beings of light, or even shadowy entities, depending on the person's vibrational frequency. Curiously, many people report experiences of flying, floating, or being in places they've never visited during sleep. Traditions claim this is not mere metaphor. It is a sign that the soul is, in fact, traveling. Have you ever noticed how certain dreams have a spiritual clarity comparable to deep meditation? This is no coincidence. Recent studies show that brain activity during REM sleep is, in some respects, very similar to that of meditation masters. Both sleep and meditation involve the activation of specific brain waves, such as theta and delta, as well as the temporary suspension of the rational ego. In other words, for many traditions, sleep is the soul's natural meditation, a return to the primordial state of consciousness. Hinduism, for example, describes three main states: Jagrat, waking; Svapna, dreaming; and Sushupti, dreamless deep sleep. The last is considered the closest to the absolute, where the soul merges temporarily with the all, without form, without time, without identity. A glimpse of the divine. Likewise, Sufism, the mystical branch of Islam, values dreams as channels for spiritual revelations. Sufis practice techniques to maintain remembrance of God even while asleep, and many of their mystical accounts came through dreams. Ancient traditions did not see sleep as a suspension of reality, but as a window, a passage inward and beyond. For them, consciousness was not a product of the brain, but an eternal spark that, when freed from the sleeping body, returns to its origin. By connecting these teachings with the findings of neuroscience, we realize that perhaps the mystics of millennia past were not so far from the truth. They simply used a different language, symbolic, spiritual, to describe the same phenomenon we now attempt to translate into graphs, scans, and theses. And in the end, perhaps both are speaking of the same thing. Sleep as the great portal, consciousness as the eternal traveler. Science observes the visible. Spirituality observes the invisible. But at some point, the two meet. For centuries, science and spirituality have walked parallel paths, often in conflict, as if one invalidated the other. But in recent times, something has started to shift. Physics began to speak of particles entangled beyond time. Neuroscience started studying the effects of meditation, and reports of subjective experiences, like lucid dreams or near-death experiences, began drawing the attention of laboratories. Sleep, once seen only as a biological function, is now also a fertile field for new hypotheses about the mind, time, and the very nature of reality. Quantum physics, for example, has dismantled the idea that everything is fixed, predictable, and solid. The concept of quantum entanglement shows that two particles can remain connected even at great distances, as if they share a single reality, despite being separated by space and time. Doesn't this sound in some way like what mystics have said for millennia? That everything is interconnected, that we are part of a living web of consciousness? Physicist David Bohm proposed the idea of the implicate order, suggesting that the visible universe is merely a surface-level manifestation of a deeper, invisible reality. For him, everything is encoded in this implicate field, including consciousness. Biologist Rupert Sheldrake proposed morphogenetic fields, invisible structures that shape matter and mind. He believed that memories, behaviors, and even thoughts could be transmitted not only genetically, but through shared informational fields, something that echoes the spiritual idea of the collective unconscious. These ideas, still controversial in academic circles, offer a conceptual bridge between cutting-edge physics and ancient spirituality. When analyzing reports from people who have had near-death experiences, NDEs, we often find descriptions strikingly similar to lucid dreams or deep meditative states, sensations of floating outside the body, tunnels of light, the presence of beings, life reviews, and a mental clarity that transcends linear time. Interestingly, studies show that many of these experiences occur in brain states close to REM sleep, suggesting that there may be a common gateway among these altered states of consciousness. Another fascinating point of contact lies in reports of past lives that arise in dreams. In many cultures, from Hinduism to Kardecist Spiritism, dreams are seen as channels to access memories from other lifetimes. There are thousands of documented cases, many rigorously investigated, where children report accurate memories of previous lives, often during vivid dreams. These narratives challenge the materialist view of the mind as solely a product of the brain. Is the mind outside the brain? This question, is consciousness in the brain or beyond it, has gained momentum in more open scientific circles. The receiver theory of the brain, which suggests the brain is not the producer but the receiver of consciousness, proposes that the brain acts like an antenna, It tunes into consciousness but does not generate it. Just as a radio captures a station but doesn't create the music, the brain would only decode something greater, something that exists beyond the physical. This idea is supported by studies involving coma patients who report vivid experiences while brain scans show little to no activity. Also, in experiments involving deep meditation, experienced monks demonstrate heightened states of awareness while their brain activity drops to near baseline levels. And most intriguingly, in studies on lucid dreams, the person seems to navigate between two worlds, the physical and the dreamlike, with an impressive degree of self-awareness. Some researchers suggest these states may be access points to explore consciousness as a non-local phenomenon, meaning not confined to the brain or body. Sleep, then, becomes both a symbolic and literal territory of convergence. When we fall asleep, the brain shuts off parts of rational control, and interestingly, it's in this moment that many people report their deepest experiences. Encounters with deceased loved ones, sensations of floating, journeys to places they've never seen but somehow recognize. Are these reports merely the result of a creative mind? Or could they be windows into a reality that waking consciousness doesn't allow us to access? More and more scientists are acknowledging, not everything that exists can be measured. Not everything that is real is visible. And perhaps this is the true union between science and spirituality, the humility to accept that there is far more than we can explain, but that we can still explore. At their core, both science and spirituality are expressions of the same impulse, the desire to understand who we are, where we came from, and where we're going. Both look toward the same horizon, just through different lenses. Sleep, with its altered states, symbolic dreams, and physiological mysteries, remains one of the few human phenomena that continues to fascinate both fields. Every night, we enter that mystery, and every morning, we return with fragments, disconnected memories, symbols, messages, or just the sensation of having lived something beyond explanation. And perhaps, by combining the precise gaze of science with the intuitive wisdom of spirituality, we can catch a clearer glimpse of what it means to be conscious, even while we sleep. Not every dream is just a dream. Sometimes it's a memory, other times a calling. Sleep is not a homogeneous experience. In the vast territory of nighttime consciousness, there are trails, portals, landscapes, and encounters, each with its own purpose and depth. What we generally call dreaming can take many forms. Some symbolic, others as real as waking life. Some chaotic, others transformative. Let's explore these layers. Symbolic dreams, archetypes, and metaphors. These are the most common dreams. The ones where strange events unfold in disconnected narratives, yet are loaded with psychological meaning. It's where the unconscious speaks through symbols. A house may represent the psyche, a stormy sea may symbolize repressed emotions, an animal may reflect a dormant instinct. Carl Jung was one of the first to view dreams as messages from the collective unconscious. For him, the symbols that emerge during sleep are not random, but archetypal expressions that reflect our inner journey. In other words, even the strangest dreams may carry deep truth, if we know how to listen. Lucid dreams, narrative control. Here, consciousness awakens within the dream. You realize you're dreaming, and with practice, you can even interact, fly, change the scenery, or talk to characters from your own subconscious. It's as if the mind gains freedom inside a simulation. Lucid dreaming is a hybrid field between the real and the imagined. For many, it's also an opportunity for emotional healing, creative practice, or self-discovery. You can confront your fears, rehearse conversations you never had the courage to have, or even meditate within the dream itself. Premonitory dreams, accessing nonlinear time. Throughout history, there have been many reports of dreams that predict future events. People who dreamed of disasters, deaths, reunions, or life changes, and later experienced them exactly as they had seen. Traditional science tends to dismiss these reports as coincidence, but some schools of modern physics, especially those related to the quantum theory of time, suggest that time may not be linear and that consciousness, in altered states, can access information beyond traditional chronology. Spiritual visions and encounters with guides. There are dreams that don't feel like dreams. They are encounters, messages, sensations of deep truth, of connection with something greater. Many people describe conversations with masters, deceased loved ones, beings of light, or even higher versions of themselves. These dreams are filled with peace, wisdom, and a type of emotion that's difficult to put into words. Spiritually speaking, they are moments when the soul connects with more subtle planes of consciousness and receives guidance for the waking journey. Out-of-body experiences, OBEs. Out-of-body experiences often occur on the threshold between sleep and wakefulness, or during deep sleep, when a person feels they have left the body and are observing themselves from outside. They differ from lucid dreams in that they bring a powerful sense of reality and spatial detachment. The person may fly, visit known or unknown places, pass through walls, or encounter other forms of consciousness. Researchers and spiritual explorers like Robert Monroe studied these phenomena in depth. He reported hundreds of out-of-body experiences and founded the Monroe Institute to investigate states of consciousness. His descriptions, as well as those from practitioners of the Eckankar tradition, suggest that these experiences often carry profound teachings about the nature of the soul. Although science does not yet have a definitive explanation, many scholars acknowledge that these reports follow consistent patterns and deserve attention. Perhaps one of the most mysterious and least explained experiences is that of shared dreams. Imagine two people dream of the same place during the same time period and have similar experiences, even though they hadn't spoken to each other. There are reports of couples, friends, and even strangers accessing the same dream, setting, and later confirming what they saw with one another. For Jung, this could be a manifestation of the collective unconscious, a layer of the human mind that we all share, where universal symbols, experiences, and memories are interconnected. From a spiritual perspective, it would be evidence that our consciousnesses are interlinked beyond matter, and that during sleep, we access a kind of universal network, where thoughts and experiences can intersect. Sleep, therefore, is not a black screen of shutdown. It is a vast ocean of possibilities. In it, we can dive into symbols, fly through worlds, access the future, find answers that waking life hides, or simply rest and still be touched by something sacred. The key is realizing that not every dream is random, and not every nighttime experience is an illusion. Often, they are invitations. Invitations to wake up within ourselves. Consciousness doesn't turn off when we sleep, it simply waits for us to notice it. Many people believe that lucid dreams, astral projections, or visions during sleep are experiences reserved for a few chosen ones. But that's an illusion. We all have the potential to access deeper levels of nighttime consciousness. The difference lies in our degree of attention, intention, and preparation. Just as we learn to walk, write, or play an instrument, we can also train the mind to remain aware during sleep. It's not about controlling the unconscious, but collaborating with it, creating a bridge between the inner world and waking life. Below are some essential practices for this nocturnal awakening. Practical techniques. Dream journaling. Writing down dreams immediately upon waking is one of the most powerful tools for expanding nighttime consciousness. The more you write, the more your brain understands that dreams are important and begins to recall them with greater clarity. Pro tip: keep a notebook by your bed and write as soon as you wake up, even if it's just a fragment. Over time, patterns begin to emerge, recurring symbols, themes, subtle messages. Affirmations and suggestions before sleep. The moments just before falling asleep are extremely receptive to mental commands. Affirmations like, "Tonight I will have a lucid dream," or "I will remember my dreams clearly," program the subconscious mind to act during sleep. You can also use more spiritual phrases like, "I am ready to receive messages from my higher self," or "May my soul guide me tonight." Realities. Throughout the day, ask yourself, "Am I dreaming right now?" Perform simple tests such as looking at your hands, trying to walk through a wall, or reading a phrase twice to see if it changes. Over time, you'll begin doing these same checks in your dreams, and then realize you're dreaming. This is the lucid dream click, the moment when consciousness awakens within the dream landscape. Guided meditation and conscious breathing. Meditation practices before bed help calm the mind, align your intention, and prepare the energetic field for more conscious experiences. You can use specific audio tracks for dream induction, with binaural beats or visualizations that guide the mind into liminal states between wakefulness and sleep. Creative visualization and energetic cleansing. Before falling asleep, visualize the scene you wish to visit: a field of light, a temple, a star, a safe place. This image will be planted like a seed in the subconscious and may manifest as the starting point for your nighttime journey. Additionally, imagine yourself surrounded by white or golden light, like a protective shield. This practice, common in esoteric traditions, helps prevent nightmares or dense encounters, keeping the energetic field lighter and safer. Rituals and habits to prepare the body and mind. Sleep environment. The place where you sleep directly influences the quality and nature of your dreams. Create a nighttime sanctuary. Keep the room dark, quiet, with a comfortable temperature and minimal electronic stimuli. Scents like lavender, sandalwood, or frankincense help induce deep relaxation. Avoid phones, screens, and blue light at least 30 minutes before bed. Artificial light tricks the brain and makes it harder to enter natural sleep cycles. Light meals and information fasting. Avoid heavy meals at night. Light, natural foods, especially vegetables, promote a cleaner sleep. Also, avoid overloading the mind with negative news or excessive stimulation before bed. Instead, read something inspiring, listen to soft music, or write down things you're grateful for. This helps program the mental field for more harmonious experiences. Real cases of people who awakened their dream potential. The designer who found solutions in his sleep. Carlos, a young architect, started training lucid dreaming out of curiosity. After 2 months of dream journaling and visualization, he began mentally visiting unfinished projects in his sleep. In these dreams, he found solutions he hadn't thought of while awake, and began writing everything down upon waking. His designs reached a new level of creativity. The woman who healed an old emotional wound. Renata, a holistic therapist, practiced affirmations before bed, asking for clarity around a childhood trauma. One night, she dreamed of her younger self, alone in a dark room. When she hugged her inner child in the dream, she woke up in tears and with a deep sense of relief she had never experienced. Since then, she has used dreams as a therapeutic space. The young man who found his purpose through lucid dreams. Lucas, a psychology student, learned how to induce lucidity in his dreams and began meeting an oniric guide who taught him about philosophy, spirituality, and even therapeutic listening techniques. Inspired by these experiences, he wrote his thesis on the role of dreams in identity formation. These examples show that sleep can be much more than rest. It can be a space for healing, creativity, and reconnecting with the self. And the most beautiful part, it requires nothing more than intention, presence, and practice. Consciousness is already there, simply waiting to be called. Not every nighttime journey is peaceful. Some are warnings. Others are simply reflections of what still needs to be healed. As we explore the realms of sleep with more presence and awareness, we also open doors to deeper content, including that which challenges us. This doesn't mean we should fear the dream world, but rather enter it with preparation, respect, and care. After all, even the most uncomfortable dreams carry important keys for transformation. Nightmares are often symbolic expressions of trauma, anxiety, and repressed memories. Science suggests that the brain, in trying to process difficult emotions, recreates those tensions in dreams in an attempt to organize them. From a spiritual perspective, nightmares may also represent unintentional journeys into denser planes of the lower astral. Realms where the vibration is lower, reflecting unresolved fears or accumulated energies. The good news? Even nightmares can be transformed. When we welcome their content with awareness and ask, "What is this dream trying to show me?" we create space for it to dissolve. Another common and often frightening phenomenon is sleep paralysis. The person wakes up but can't move. They may feel a presence, hear sounds, or experience visual hallucinations. Scientifically, this occurs when the mind wakes while the body is still shut off due to the REM state. It's a short circuit between consciousness and the motor system. Spiritually, some traditions view this state as an abrupt return of the astral body to the physical, or an attempted soul departure that is pulled back before completion. The most important thing in these cases is not to panic. Take deep breaths, affirm that you are safe, and wait calmly for the body to regain movement. This helps you exit the episode with serenity. Tips for energetic and psychological protection. Use positive affirmations before sleep, such as, "I am protected and at peace." Practice light visualizations, surrounding your body in golden or white fields of energy. Upon waking from an intense dream, ground yourself by placing your feet on the floor, drinking water, or breathing deeply as you reconnect with the physical body. Exploring consciousness during sleep is a journey of expansion, but like any true journey, it also requires discernment, self-care, and clear intention. Awakening is beautiful, but it's even more beautiful when it's accompanied by balance. Sleeping is not shutting down. It's stepping through the mirror. Throughout this journey, we've explored a territory that, for a long time, was considered an unfathomable mystery. What happens to consciousness while we sleep? We discovered that modern neuroscience now recognizes that sleep is far more than physical rest. During REM sleep, for instance, the brain lights up like a constellation, activating areas linked to creativity, memory, emotion, and even self-awareness. Scholars like Stephen LaBerge have shown that it's possible to communicate from within a dream. Research points to the brain's ability to solve problems, uncover solutions, and access deeper layers of the psyche, all while we rest. But we didn't stop there. We also traveled through ancient spiritual traditions, from Egypt to Tibet, from shamans to Christian mystics, that have long regarded sleep as a sacred portal. To them, dreams are more than random images. They are soul journeys, spirit messages, rehearsals for the beyond. And in the meeting between science and spirituality, perhaps we've found the most valuable key of all. Sleep is not absence. It's another form of presence. When you close your eyes at night, your body rests, but your consciousness does not. It moves. It observes. It feels. It learns. It dreams. Sometimes it brings visions. Other times, only silences filled with meaning. It travels down paths waking life could never reach. When you sleep, you don't disappear. You access parts of yourself that waking life can't reach. So next time you lie down to sleep, remember, a new journey is beginning. A secret passage. A dive into yourself. Close your eyes with intention. Let the night teach you. Because dreams aren't just stories your mind invents. They're often truths your heart already knew. Now tell me, have you ever had a dream that changed your life? Share it in the comments. And if you want a practical guide to mastering lucid dreams, write below. I want the next level. Let's explore together what lies between sleep and awakening.